Saturday morning at 6 a.m., 6 to 9 here on News Talk STL. Doc will be with us in just about an hour, a little less than an hour from now, just after 3 o'clock, so looking forward to that. And also, Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks joins us in just about 10 minutes from now. And there is a lot going on locally with the situation in St. Charles County and, and that issue of refugees being sent to our area by the federal government, by good old Joe Biden, is not just because it was voted on and the controversy has been surrounding St. Charles County this week because of that vote in the county council there. It's not a St. Charles County issue. It's an all over the St. Louis area. In fact, it's an all over the state of Missouri and Metro East and in Illinois story and issue, because the federal government is dispersing these refugees to places that they think have the room for them. Oh, hey, we're full up in Chicago and Washington, D.C. and New York, so where else can we go? Oh, St. Louis? That looks good. Send them there. So it's by far not just a St. Charles County issue, even though that's what's been in the news here lately. So looking forward to talking to Justin about that. Also, with it being the beginning of December, tomorrow means we are now just a month away from kicking off the legislative session. And as we learned yesterday from Rodney Boyd, the legislative session in some regards has already started because pre-filing for bills has already begun.
I can't believe that.
Very much looking forward to seeing what those priorities for Representative Sparks are going into this new legislative session. So we will talk to him about all of those things and more. Got a big debate happening tonight. Are you going to watch the debate live?
I think I'm going to watch it in passing.
Yeah.
That probably doesn't make me the best person for my job.
No,
but
it does. It's fine. You're still a human.
I think I'm going to watch it in passing.
Yeah.
I am intrigued to see how they are with one another, like Newsom and DeSantis.
Yep.
But I'm not watching it to see the presidential hopefuls of 2028. I think that I'm going to watch it to see what these governors, the damage or the not damage that they have done to their state, and how far does that actually go?
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
Christine and I have a holiday party at our house this coming weekend. So these last few days and these next couple of days have been all about like getting the house ready and preparing everything. So I've got some housework to do tonight, and I've decided that it's on them to keep my attention.
That's a good.
As I'm doing this work, I'm going to turn it on.
Yeah.
Normally I'd have like a podcast or something like that on while I'm doing something like this. That's my go-to for when I'm like cutting the grass or doing yard work or doing housework. Headphones on, podcast. I'm going to put the debate on, and it's going to be on. It's going to be on Sean and Ron and Gavin to hold my attention.
Were you not surprised at Mike Ferguson yesterday saying how good of a moderator Sean Hannity actually is? I am not a Sean Hannity person. I don't really think that you are either.
No, I'm not.
So that surprised me that Mike said that.
Mike brought up a point that I think a lot of, including myself, a lot of people forget, is that he came up, and this was Mike's point, it's a good one. Sean Hannity came up into the national news scene as part of a duo with a liberal co-host. Mm-hmm. It was Hannity and Combs. That's how Hannity got popular. That was the show on Fox News that got Sean Hannity popular and
a good point.
Got him into the. So for years, he had to, he had to have respectful debate and conversation with somebody who was a pretty liberal, progressive person, especially at the, in the time that they were on the air. So he couldn't just sit there and yell and scream and be all bombastic every day, every time Alan Combs said something. He had to. Yeah. For the sake of the show.
Composure.
Yeah, he had to have, some sensible conversations. So I think Mike is right. I think with that background that Sean Hannity has if he draws upon it. Now, if Hannity wants to be the Trumper, bomb thrower,
Mm-hmm.
Version of Sean Hannity, then yeah, then it could get real crazy. But I think Mike's right. I think that Sean, we're going to see more of the Hannity and Combs Sean Hannity, where he will be more measured and neutral, and we'll see when that will get put to the test is when, because this will happen. There will be a question tonight, probably multiple times this will happen. But there will be a question tonight that Gavin Newsom gives an answer to that is just
ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Is either a bold-faced lie or is just completely misconstruing or not answering the question. When that happens, Sean Hannity's reaction, that'll be the telltale moment. The first time that happens, how Hannity handles it. If he just starts going, Governor, that's an absolute lie, and you know it, or Governor, blah, 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 cuts him off and starts, correcting him and yelling at him, or if he lets him finish and maybe lets Ron DeSantis handle the rebuttal and all of that. So we'll see. But because that would, again, that's going to happen.
Absolutely.
There's going to be a question that Gavin Newsom, and probably Ron DeSantis too, but for sure Gavin Newsom is going to just give a total BS answer to.
Yeah.
And we'll see how, it's okay to call him out and hold him accountable and make him explain his BS answer. But how the fashion that he does that in, that'll be a telltale moment on how the rest of the debate is going to go with as far as Sean Hannity's performance.
I really, really hope they invited people from their states to either do a video question or to do a question live in the audience. I really want that.
There is no audience.
Oh.
There is no audience. I know, isn't that
So
weird?
maybe a video question. I hope so. I hope there are people that are able to ask questions.
I think that's going to have a weird role, like dynamic on tonight also. Because there's not going to be an audience.
I mean, isn't that part of the exhilaration of the forum?
In the studio.
I mean, but isn't a debate you feed off of the energy?
No, I agree. We're used to seeing debates. I mean, even in 2020, at the height of COVID, the debates there were people in the room. Those debates.
I don't get that. Yeah. I don't know if that's gonna having a silent room.
Well, I think
awkward.
that Hannity booked this. Like if we booked a debate on our show, I mean, it would just be here in the studio. Yeah. There wouldn't be an audience. Yeah. If we got two people together that were running in a local race to go against each other and invited them to be on at the same time, they'd be in here in the studio with us, but that'd be it.
Yeah.
There's going to be a huge audience watching and listening, but there's not going to be any audience live in the room.
Guess we'll see.
Yeah. Unless they've changed that, which I don't believe they have. The last I saw it's going to be an in-studio, no audience debate tonight. Quick update on what's happening in Israel. John Kirby says the United States is working by the hour to extend the ceasefire. White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby said earlier today that the U.S. is working by the hour to extend the Israel-Hamas ceasefire. Quote, we're going to continue our efforts with Israel, with Qatar, obviously with Egypt, to support and extend this pause as much as we can and to help secure the release of all the hostages held by Hamas terrorists. This was during the White House briefing just a couple hours ago. He went on to say, quote, I know one of the first questions I'm going to get is what are the chances of an extension? And I just can't tell you that right now, except to tell you that we're working at it literally by the hour to see if we can get this 7th day turned into an 8th and 9th and 10th and beyond. Okay. Continuing, quote, but all I can do is tell you where we are right now, and we're glad that we got a 7th day out of this. The IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, have noted that at least at the time that I came out here, 2 hostages had made their way back. I don't know if there will be more. We certainly hope there will be more. So John Kirby clearly stating the position of the White House, and that is they are fully attempting, fully supportive of, fully negotiating for the ceasefire to continue and not continue temporarily. As he said, it's been 7 days now, and he said, we're working on an 8th, 9th, 10th, and more. So that is, I think, telling and kind of showing the hand of where the White House is.
And is the continued ceasefire only to get every single hostage out?
Well, that's what they're saying.
Or is it, because I can't fathom after that is done, let's say that is the goal, after that's done, what's next? I'm sure that the White House and I'm sure the administration is just trying to do this a day-by-day thing, but if they were to get every hostage away from Hamas's hands, are you saying that now Israel and the United States are going to have a discussion with Hamas about next steps on what are we all going to do as a collective?
I mean, I think that
to
is
try.
I think that's what the White House like if they had exactly their wishes, I think that's what it would be.
That's disgusting.
I think it would be no more
Hey,
war. Ceasefire is complete.
don't take any more people now.
Yeah, don't take any more people and don't.
Come on.
Yeah, don't no more river to the sea stuff now.
Don't be
guys.
killing
Come on.
babies now.
Yeah, don't be doing that stuff.
I think, and I get trying to get the hostages out. We all get trying to rescue the hostages.
Right.
That part is not in question. My question is, okay, we're extending this ceasefire to 10 days, 11 days, 12 days. Okay, by day 12, let's say we got the hostages. What now? Does Hamas take more hostages, as you pointed out at the beginning of this week?
Yeah.
Are they going to take more grandmothers, more grandfathers, more aunts and uncles, hold them up for ransom, let's say, and just for an extended period of time? We don't even know. The ceasefire will happen. Israel doesn't know what's going to happen. The IDF is vulnerable. What goes on in Gaza after we get the hostages out?
Mm-hmm. Yep, and I think that is they're using, the White House is using the excuse of getting hostages out as the reason why, but I think that there are deeper reasons why they are promoting that the ceasefire continue and to stop any more retaliation from Israel. But Israel has made it very clear.
I thought they wanted us to step away.
They're not done. Well, but they're getting, they're in on this. Israel has agreed to this point because they're getting 10 hostages a day or whatever the number is for every day of ceasefire. So Israel's like,
okay,
yeah, I will do this and we'll extend it another day if we can get 10 more people home. But they've said, look, this is temporary. And we are far from done with our military actions.
Yeah.
So you can try for whatever you want to try for or believe whatever you want to believe. But we are far from done.
I think that was my question, is that the U.S. and Israel are saying we can work together to get these hostages freed because we're getting 10, an hour, 10 a day, whatever the case may be. But when that is said and done, does Israel expect the United States to be like, okay, now do your thing? Like, now we're stepping back and now Netanyahu can take. I mean, once we're kind of in this.
Well, so there, you kind of brought up, you know what, I'm going to save this for Justin Sparks.
Yeah.
But just to continue the conversation, when we do get Justin on the line, the president has already alluded to the idea of conditions of us continuing to support Israel. He even said to the press this week, somebody asked, because there's been a lot of Democrats pushing for, if we're going to continue to aid Israel, then we should only do it if they stop bombing or if they put an end date on this and the president said this week, and this is, we've talked about him showing some cracks in the armor. This is a perfect example. He said, the idea of putting conditions on aid to Israel is a worthwhile thought.
Ay, ay, ay.
Which means he's obviously considering it. So we'll tell you that whole story and more. We'll continue the conversation with our friend, Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks. He joins us next on Colombo and Katie.
Sitting at the edge of the bed, 1 million thoughts as I reflect. Tease me just a little, I'm not hard to persuade. Fully aware for this that I might pay.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Thank you for the opportunity to let me vent here.
Live and local.
Way to be, guys. 1019 all the way.
This is News Talk STL.
I am home.
Damn right, you're home 1019 all the way. And you know what? If you need to raise big money fast, damn right, the way to do that is with a TJ's Pizza fundraiser. TJ's Pizza fundraising in St. Louis for 40 years. Unbelievable. Celebrating their 40th anniversary of being the number one fundraising company in the area. And it is for the exact reason that we talked about last week. We didn't do our family Thanksgiving until Friday night. So on Thanksgiving night, which has become a little bit of a tradition because this is kind of our family schedule every year, we had TJ's Pizza at the Colombo house. That was our Thanksgiving feast, and it was awesome. The kids love it. We love it. And it's the products. It's the TJ's pizzas and the cookies and the cookie dough and the pies and everything else that make for such a great fundraising success story for your church, your school, your kids' sports team or dance club or gymnastics team or whatever it may be that you need to raise big money for. It's the products that sets TJ's Pizza apart from the rest. You put that on top of their great customer service and their huge profit margins, and you quickly realize why they have been the number one fundraising company in St. Louis for 40 years running. If you need to raise big money now, get started at tjspizza.com.
You want to give a unique gift this holiday? I suggest Stolock Whiskey, produced in Missouri. Stolock Whiskey, born of natural limestone filtered water from the Ozark Highlands, aged in Missouri oak. Stolock, so smooth. Trust me, you're going to enjoy it. So next time, ask for Stolock. Visit the website, stolock.com. Stolock, Stowloch, from Stone Ledge Distillery.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
The numbers and the percentages of college freshmen and sophomores who now identify as something other than what they actually are is staggering because we have been promoting it. We have been instigating this dysphoria. We have been instigating this evil. Most of that has come from two places, education and popular.
Yeah, this is all spiritual warfare that's going on.
Weekday mornings, 5:30 to 9 on News Talk STL.
Hi, this is Chad with Clayman Group, KLAMEN Group.com. We've been buying a lot of houses lately with foundation problems. St. Louis is notorious for having issues with people's basements, whether it's settlement, water coming in, cracks, or mold from previous water being there. We buy houses in all of those types of conditions. So if you have basement problems or you're thinking about getting it fixed, please reach out. We can simplify your real estate situation and make you an as-is cash offer. KLAMEN Group.com.
The White House Report, brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
I wish that I could fly into the sky so very high, just like a dragonfly. I'd fly above the trees, over the seas, in all degrees, to anywhere I please. Oh, I want to get away. I want to fly away. Yeah, yeah.
welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 119 and 94.1 News Talk STL. My name's Tony Colombo. My partner's name is Katie Fitzpatrick, and we're here in the studio. But joining us now on the phone, as he does every week at this time, is Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks. Justin, thanks for your time as always, my friend. How are you?
Great to be back with you guys. Missed you. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving.
Yeah, back at you. Back at you, buddy. And I can't believe we're just talking about this. I can't believe tomorrow is December, and then we're a month away from the next legislative session. It's unbelievable how fast this time is moving.
Trust me, I feel it because I can't believe it was just like yesterday that session ended, and now I get to jet away from the family again, and I don't know. Maybe they'll be glad to get rid of me for a little bit.
Well, hopefully we can get some progress done this year. Every year we go into it with high hopes, and then it seems like we always leave it in frustration. But we'll see how this one works out. I do want to get into some of those local issues and some of the things that are going to be addressed during the legislative session here in just a minute. But I want to wrap up a conversation Katie and I were just having. We're talking about the war in Israel, and we're talking about the ceasefire. And I was just talking about how John Kirby was on, he was part of the press briefing earlier today, the White House press briefing, and he said that they are working by the hour to extend the ceasefire. I think, giving showing the hand of the White House on, they're using the release of hostages is the reason why they want to continue the ceasefire. But he said, we want this ceasefire not to continue just another day or two. We want it to continue going forward. So, obviously that is not something Israel has ever, Israel's made it very clear that this is a temporary ceasefire. They're negotiating with the terrorists right now to get their hostages back, but they're nowhere near done attacking the group of people that are trying to wipe them off the planet Earth. And then, and then the next part of the story is, and this is where I wanted to pick it up with you, Democrats have been more and more vocal recently about United States, about our support of Israel and us sending them resources. And this week, the President of the United States told a group of reporters that were asking about this that the idea of putting conditions on Israeli aid is a worthwhile thought. Now, the White House has tried to clean that mess up and said we are in no way going to put any conditions on any support to Israel. But obviously, we know what many Democrats think. We know what the White House is working towards right now with this ceasefire, and now we also know that the president at least believes that the idea of putting conditions on Israeli support is worthwhile. I don't like any of it, Justin. What are your thoughts?
So you hit on something so important, guys. This is the topic to talk about because our country's about to make a grave mistake, maybe one of the biggest mistakes of our lifetime. And the reason is, so we know the culture, the wars that we've been fighting, the culture wars, but you've also seen the rot within our public institutions, like, for example, our universities. So you see these university professors, you see the marches on campus and in what used to be considered our elite universities, right? And what do you see? You see pro-Hamas. You saw TikTok, and you see our young generation on TikTok and social media. And what do you see there? You see support for Hamas. This is not support for Palestinian refugees, guys. This is support for violent, murderous jihadis, people that cut the heads off of children. You have to keep saying it over and over and over again. And you have to say it until the truth it finally breaks through. Because what the Biden administration is signaling is that behind closed doors, certainly, and now out in the open, that this support for Israel is conditional, and you know it is. You can't trust anything that comes out of this administration. Our support for Israel is unwavering. And then, on the other hand, right, behind the scenes, they're working against Israel, working for a ceasefire. Let me be clear. A ceasefire benefits no one except for the terrorists. And the only reason that we would even engage or even consider something like this is for the precious lives of children and innocent civilians that are being tortured right now in Gaza. And so we have a balancing act, but let me tell you, no one can be more clear than this, every moment, every minute, and every hour that the ceasefire continues strengthens Hamas. It enables them to resupply, resituate, and gain the tactical advantage. They were on the ropes, guys. The only reason they released any hostages were because they were about to be annihilated from the face of the earth forever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they did it. And don't ever forget it. And so Israel will push through, and I hope and pray they don't falter, because I will tell you, if they're thinking that they're going to have to rely on the Biden administration, they're wrong.
Justin, we did not get a chance to speak with you about this last week because of Thanksgiving, but I wanted to get your thoughts about that TikTok trend that was going around about people reading Osama bin Laden's letter. And they were validating Osama bin Laden, validating his letter about killing Americans, killing the Jewish people. I wanted to get your thoughts on what kind of world we're living in when young people are starting to think of Osama bin Laden as an actual leader that was, with his thought process and ideologies, was okay.
Well, guys, how many times have we talked about our educational system on this program? How many times have we talked about our schools? And how many times have we said the education that we received is not the education that our children are receiving, and we'd better wake up quickly and fix it? Because what you're seeing is a lack of overall education. Our children don't know anything. But you go to kids on the street, college students, guys, don't know what happened on 9/11. Think about it. Think about and I'm sure you've seen the viral videos where you go up and ask college students on college campuses who Al Qaeda is, who is responsible for 9/11. They don't know. They genuinely don't know. But if you ask them about the male patriarchy or white privilege, they'll talk to you for an hour. Do you understand that that's what they're being taught? They're not being taught history. They're not being taught reality, and they certainly aren't being taught truth and discern it.
They're being taught ideology. You're so right.
Yep.
And you're so right. And it's so important that your voice is heard, that our voices are heard, that all the, that people realize what is happening in these college campuses, on these college campuses, in high schools, and, what our kids are learning and what they're talking about. And so we can get involved, and hopefully more and more people are. It's such an important point. It looks like there's going to be a briefing at the Pentagon here in just a few minutes. It looks like Anthony Blinken is going to give an update. So when that happens, we will go live to the Capitol and bring you that. We are speaking to Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks. And Justin, let's switch gears and switch to some local issues. Obviously, as we mentioned, the new legislative session is right around the corner, and I think one of the biggest issues that you guys are going to be addressing is what we have seen in the local headlines here recently, specifically in St. Charles County, where there was a vote, a city council or a county council vote this week to try to stop the federal policy of sending immigrants, refugees to our area because they don't have anywhere else to go. And so, the sanctuary cities like Chicago and New York and Washington, D.C. are getting filled up, and they're like, well, where can we go next? Let's send them to the St. Louis area. And so it's going to be a big problem, I think, for people in our area and across the state of Missouri. What are your thoughts on how big of an issue that's going to be, and whether or not you guys are going to be able to, do something about it in this legislative session?
Yeah, thank you for the question, and it's a good topic to talk about, because we want to clarify specifically when you're talking about Palestinian refugees. Number one, there's a reason why all the countries around the area of Gaza are refusing any Palestinian refugees. And we're talking about Jordan, we're talking about Egypt, and you have to ask yourself why. You have to ask yourself why these Muslim majority countries are refusing zero, okay? And the reason is because primarily a vetting process. They know many of the people inside Gaza who would be purporting to be refugees, innocent refugees, are not. And you have to have a robust vetting process in order to ensure that terrorists don't come into your country, correct? And that's really what Representative Dinkins authored a letter addressing exactly this, which is we must do something in order to refuse wholesale open door policies of refugees coming out of that part of the world, because we do not have the confidence or trust in the Biden administration of a robust and responsible vetting process. And we've seen that with our southern border, haven't we?
Cool. Yeah.
And so because of that, we do not trust our administration to do the right thing and to ensure the safety and security of our people and our constituents. That's what I'm responsible for. I'm responsible to the people that really sent me to Jefferson City to keep them safe if I can. And so that's really the impetus and what motivated us as a legislative body to say, okay, we're not going to simply throw doors open to illegal immigrants coming over our southern border that have not been vetted, and we're certainly not going to do the same for folks coming out of a war-torn conflict, and most certainly some bad actors are going to try to flee with innocence.
We were talking to Rodney Boyd yesterday about the upcoming legislative session, and it talked about how, it's only about a month away before it's starting, and he reminded us, it's actually kind of already underway, because not only of this new budget conversation process that is in place this year, it's also time to pre-file, I believe is what he said. You can correct me anytime I say something wrong here, but if that's the case, if this is pre-file time, is there anything specifically that you're working on that you would be pre-filing, bills that are at the top of your priority list, or maybe working with other representatives on a bill that they'll be pre-filing? Like, what is that top priority going into this next session?
My first bill that will be pre-filed Friday. He's right, by the way. The bills are being pre-filed in the Senate and the House. My bill will be pre-filed on Friday, very near and dear to my heart. Detective Valentine was killed in the line of duty by a suspect that was fleeing from the police. And what this bill will be, it is called Valentine's Law, and it will make fleeing from the police and putting the public at risk of serious physical injury or death a felony with required incarceration.
Oh,
and that's something we haven't done
it.
in Missouri before, and it is going to be a game changer, and that message will be received by the criminal element that we no longer take this lightly. When you flee from the police and you put kids and innocents and police officers and first responders in harm's way, you will be prosecuted. We will find you. We will hunt you down, and we will bring you to justice because it's worth it.
Justin, not only, I know, and I know many of our listeners also know that not only were you a police officer for years before switching over into public service, but you also, have had family members, police officers that were killed in the line of duty. So I know how much this touches you personally. And,
Yep.
just from the, looking at it from a concerned citizen standpoint, I've always thought that we've taught criminals in our area, in our state, that, if the police are coming, just make sure you turn your back. Turn your back and start going away, because then they can't do anything. They can't shoot you. They can't chase you. They can't do it, because for somehow we've determined that means that all the threats are gone, even though this is a potential murderer, a potential violent criminal, as you mentioned, somebody that's still very dangerous to the community. Somehow we came up with this idea that, well, if they're walking away, if they're leaving the scene, then they're no longer a threat. So am I right that has been the way it's the message that's been sent to this point, and hopefully your bill will be what corrects that situation?
Yeah, unfortunately, that we engaged in our community into a social contract for years now that the police were no longer going to chase suspects for what would be considered minor offenses, right? So traffic offenses. And then that slowly grew from traffic offenses to, burglaries. Okay. And then burglaries, was anybody actually hurt in a robbery, right? Oh, it was just a purse snatching, okay?
Oh.
So that's what this social contract became. It became this, okay, the police, these standards of the police, these general orders are going to be that we're not going to chase the criminal element for these things because we don't want them to flee and then crash into innocence and hurt them. But what we've seen is the exact opposite. That what does the Bible say? The wicked flee when none pursueth. Okay, that scripture's on literally the National Law Enforcement Memorial in Washington, D.C., because it's true. What we've seen in real time is criminals fleeing, whether the police are behind them or not, driving 120 miles an hour when school's being let out on Jennings Station Road, running school buses off the road and driving in oncoming traffic. I've seen it with my own eyes. And what we've seen is this experiment no longer works. And when you take a firm stand against evil and wickedness and lawlessness, it makes a difference. When you no longer have a prosecuting attorney that refuses to do her job in office, instead you have a prosecuting attorney that starts issuing charges, what happens? The murder rate goes down. Shocking, right, guys? Murders have gone down in the St. Louis city and St. Louis region. Why is that? Well, because, violent criminals are being held accountable now. This is what happens. It's not rocket science. It's called behavior modification, and we have to have the will and intestinal fortitude to do it sometimes.
Great stuff, as always. Justin Sparks, Missouri State Representative. Love talking to you every Thursday. Things about to really pick up, business about to really pick up for you, and can't wait to hear what you're working on the coming weeks. In the meantime, remind folks how they can keep up with you and everything you're working on.
SparksForMissouri.com, Justin M. Sparks on the Twitter and the X, and Justin Sparks Facebook, Instagram. Look forward to seeing you guys again.
Yeah, great stuff. Thanks so much for your time this afternoon. We'll talk to you soon, my friend. Have a great day.
Goodbye.
All right, great stuff there, as always, from Missouri State Representative Justin Sparks. Going to talk to Dr. Randy Tobler here in just about 20 minutes, just after 3 o'clock. We're keeping an eye on the Capitol as Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is supposed to be conducting a press conference where he is going to update the country on the situation in Israel with the ceasefire and the release of any hostages. So we will bring you that live when it does happen. And also, House Republicans are scheduled to meet behind closed doors tomorrow to discuss holding a vote to formalize the impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. We'll explain what this meeting is supposed to be about, and we'll see if we believe that anything will actually come out of it. We'll have that whole discussion next here on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
I want to get away. I want to fly away.
Stream Colombo and Katie at newstalkstl.com. Follow us on Getter at News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Thursday, Tim and Chris have Becky Arps talking about making sure only American citizens can vote, then an update on Israel and Hamas with Dakota Wood, and then school choice with Chris DeGaulle.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Just talking to my good friend Dave Sylvester from Gutter Pros earlier today. There is a lot going on right now with Gutter Pros because this time of year, it is really noticeable if you are having a gutter issue. Right now, it's raining outside. Of course, that rain, and it's supposed to rain, I think, for most of the night and overnight. So anytime there's these long periods of rain, if you're having a gutter issue, it is on full display. You know, the leaves have been falling out of the trees. Leaves are covering the ground, covering your roof, and hopefully not in your gutters. But unfortunately, in many cases, they are in your gutters right now. So you need the Gutter Pros to put some leaf protection on there or, you know, come out and clean out those gutters and get them working again. So if you are having any issues with your gutters at your home or business, the team at Gutter Pros are the best to call. They are your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep, whether it be gutter repair, new gutter installation, and right now, as I've mentioned, leaf protection, maybe the number one thing, especially this time of year, that you're going to want to make sure is working totally on your gutters. The team at Gutter Pros has you covered. Take advantage of their free estimates and call the Gutter Pros now at 314-656-7195 or contact them through the website gutterpros.com. That's gutterpros.com.
Hey, I'm here with one of our great friends, Rob Connor from Connor Roofing. You know, I talk about all the time who to trust, and trusting a company is everything to me. Why do people trust Connor Roofing?
Well, 30 years of being an honest roofing company that you can call and get an honest opinion on your project. We've got thousands of customers that are very happy that they did call us.
If there's a storm, the shingles fly off the house, first thing you should do is call 314-375-7475. That's how you get in touch with Connor Roofing or ConnorRoofing.com. That's CONNER roofing.com.
When it comes to buying or selling a home, you've got to work with people that you trust. It's just crucial. Mike Ferguson here. And when my wife and I decided that we wanted to get a cabin or a weekend home or a vacation home, whatever it turns out to be, the first thing I did was call my friends Rodney and Jen Wallner at 314-810-SOLD. This is too big of an investment to leave to chance, and that's why I trust Rodney and Jen, and I think you should too. Vic Porcelli, I know you feel the same way, right?
Yeah, Mike, no doubt. Here's the thing. You've been in your house for 30 years. You say to your spouse, my goodness, we don't need all this room anymore. Let's call Rodney and Jen Wallner and get the heck out of here, okay? They have so many home buyers approved, ready to go, ready to pull the trigger. They might even sell your house before it hits the market. And an astounding fact that the Wallner team sells 15 times more homes per year than your typical realtor. Nobody else you should go to or call than Rodney and Jen Wallner, the Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD.
This hour of Colombo and Katie brought to you by Gutter Pros. Water goes where we tell it. Call 314-656-7195 or visit them at gutterpros.com.
Somewhere they're speaking, it's already coming.
Welcome back to Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. House Republicans are going to meet behind closed doors tomorrow morning to discuss holding a vote formalizing an impeachment inquiry into President Biden. Sources familiar with the discussion said the Republican leaders are strongly considering a House-wide vote to approve an investigation into Biden. The meeting is expected to see the chairman of 3 committees probing Biden and his family make their case to the House GOP conference that a formal impeachment inquiry needs to begin. Those 3 chairmen are Oversight Chairman James Comer, Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, and Ways and Means Chairman Jason Smith from the state of Missouri. Former Speaker Kevin McCarthy, of course, directed the House to open an impeachment inquiry into Biden in September, but that probe has been dismissed by the White House and Democrats and the media as illegitimate because there's never been a formal vote on the matter. Republican leaders believe that holding a House-wide vote on formalizing the impeachment inquiry would make it harder for the Biden administration to resist House Republican subpoenas and requests for information, sources have explained. So if you're wondering, like, well, wait a minute, I thought there already wasn't an impeachment inquiry. Kind of, yes, but not really. So Kevin McCarthy, what he announced was an informal kind of a, we're just going to start kind of looking into it and see if there's anything there, and then maybe we'll take the next steps. So it was more of just an announcement that they're kind of looking. There's been nothing formal, there's been nothing official, and there's been no vote. And the reason there's been no vote is because, at least as of a few months ago, it was believed that a vote was not necessarily a slam dunk, that there was a very good chance that Republicans, not a vote of the entire House, just of House Republicans, would not be in favor of a formal impeachment inquiry. It looks like Anthony Blinken might be starting to, is that him?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is actually not in the Capitol. This is actually in Israel. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is updating the country and the world on the situation in the Middle East and with the hostages. So let's go live to Anthony Blinken now.
Today marks the 7th day of the humanitarian pause in Gaza that the United States worked closely with Israel, Qatar, and Egypt to put in place. the seventh day that hostages have been freed and are returning home to their families. The seventh day that significantly more humanitarian assistance is getting into the people of Gaza who need it. And the seventh day that civilians in Gaza have been able to move to safer areas. I've come again here today to advance a number of goals. Our immediate focus is working with our partners to extend the pause so that we can continue to get more hostages out of Gaza and more assistance in. We share the elation, the relief of the families from more than a dozen countries, including the United States, who've been reunited with their loved ones. And yet, there are scores of family here in Israel, the United States, and around the world whose loved ones continue to be held captive and who are desperate to get them home safely. We will not stop working until we get every hostage back home with their families and loved ones. At the same time, we continue to surge humanitarian assistance to Palestinian civilians in Gaza. Together with the UN, our partners in the region, we have significantly increased the flow of food, water, medicine, fuel to power desalination plants, hospitals, and other critical infrastructure. Just over the past week, the mechanisms that we helped to negotiate and implement have more than doubled the number of trucks getting into Gaza. But this is still not enough to meet the needs of its people, which is why we continue to work urgently to get more aid in and to get it in faster. Sustaining and increasing the flow of humanitarian aid, in particular fuel, restocking stores with commercial goods, these are vital to the lives and livelihoods and well-being of men, women, and children. That's especially true for the most vulnerable parts of the population: children, the elderly, pregnant women, people with disabilities. And it's even more pressing as winter sets in, bringing with it a heightened risk of infectious disease outbreaks. The government of Israel agrees with the imperative of humanitarian assistance and the need to sustain it. Prime Minister Netanyahu also made clear that Israel intends to resume its military operations against Hamas when Hamas stops releasing hostages. As we've said from the outset, Israel has the right to do everything it can to ensure that the slaughter Hamas carried out on October 7th can never be repeated. Hamas cannot remain in control of Gaza. It cannot retain the capacity to repeat that carnage. That was only underscored by this morning's appalling terrorist attack on people waiting at a bus stop in Jerusalem, which killed 3 Israeli civilians and wounded at least 6 others, including 2 American citizens. Hamas has claimed responsibility for that attack. It called its perpetrators heroic. We mourn those killed, just as we mourn the loss of every innocent civilian life, Israeli or Palestinian. But as I've also said since I first came here after October 7th, the way Israel defends itself matters. It's imperative that Israel act in accordance with international humanitarian law and the laws of war, even when confronting a terrorist group that respects neither. In my meetings today with the Prime Minister and senior Israeli officials, I made clear that before Israel resumes major military operations, it must put in place humanitarian civilian protection plans that minimize further casualties of innocent Palestinians. That means taking more effective steps to protect the lives of civilians, including by clearly and precisely designating areas and places in southern and central Gaza where they can be safe and out of the line of fire. It means avoiding further significant displacement of civilians inside of Gaza. It means avoiding damage to life-critical infrastructure, like hospitals, like power stations, like water facilities. And it means giving civilians who've been displaced to southern Gaza the choice to return to the north as soon as conditions permit. There must be no enduring internal displacement. All of this can be done in a manner that still enables Israel to achieve its objectives. Of course, we know that every one of these elements is made more complicated by the fact that Hamas intentionally embeds itself with civilians within and below hospitals, schools, apartment buildings, refugee camps. But Israel has one of the most sophisticated militaries in the world. It is capable of neutralizing the threat posed by Hamas while minimizing harm to innocent men, women, and children. And it has an obligation to do so. Ultimately, that's not just the right thing to do, it's also in Israel's security interest. The Prime Minister and members of the War Cabinet agreed with the need for this approach. We discussed the details of Israel's ongoing planning, and I underscored the imperative to the United States that the massive loss of civilian life and displacement of the scale that we saw in northern Gaza not be repeated in the south. As I told the Prime Minister, intent matters, but so does the result. At the same time, Hamas has choices too. Hamas could immediately release all of the hostages it holds. It could stop using civilians as human shields and stop using civilian infrastructure to stage and launch terrorist attacks. Hamas could lay down its arms, surrender the leaders who were responsible for the slaughter, the torture, the rapes of October 7th. Hamas could renounce its stated goal of eliminating Israel, killing Jews, and repeating the atrocities of October 7th again and again and again. Meanwhile, everyone around the world who cares about protecting innocent civilians, innocent lives, should be calling on Hamas, indeed demanding of Hamas, that it immediately stop its murderous acts of terror and deplorable use of innocent men, women, and children as human shields. In our meetings with Israeli leaders here and in Jerusalem, and Palestinian leaders in Ramallah, we discussed our continued focus on preventing the conflict from spreading, whether to the West Bank, to Israel's northern border, or to the broader region. I raised our deep concerns about steps that could escalate tensions in the West Bank, including extremist settler violence and proposals from parts of the Israeli coalition government to further expand settlements. I made clear our expectations about addressing these issues. We also focused on what we can, what we must do now to prepare for the day after the conflict, to create the conditions for a durable and lasting peace, building on the principles that I set out a few weeks ago during the G7 meeting in Tokyo. Breaking out of the cycle of violence, the cycle of conflict, ensuring Israel's enduring security, demands improving the lives of Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank in immediate, tangible ways, and providing them with a credible path toward their legitimate aspiration for statehood. In our ongoing conversations with Israeli, Palestinian, and Arab leaders, we'll discuss practical steps to make real a just and lasting peace, and what each of us is prepared to do to help achieve it. We have no illusions this is going to be easy. We will surely have disagreements along the way, but if we're going to move forward on practical steps toward lasting peace, lasting security, we have to be willing to work through these disagreements, because the alternative, more terrorist attacks, more violence, more innocent suffering, is unacceptable. That's why the United States is here, and we're leading toward this goal. With that, happy to take some questions.
The first question goes to Humaira Pamuk with Reuters.
So that was Secretary of State Antony Blinken in Israel giving an update on where we're at and what the United States plan is moving forward. A lot to digest there. We are going to take that all in, and we will react to what we just heard when we talk to Dr. Randy Tobler next on Colombo and Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Colombo and Katie.
Somewhere they're speaking, it's already coming in.
KLGY HD3 Clay, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Investment advisory services offered through OWLFI LLC, a SEC registered investment advisor. Insurance and education services offered through Serenity Wealth Management. Are you or someone you know providing or managing care for a loved one today? Did you know there could be more cost-efficient solutions for funding long-term care, even those currently living in a skilled care facility today? Financial strategist and long-term care specialist Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management can show you tax-efficient strategies available to help your family manage care concerns. Whether planning for the future or managing care for a loved one today, solutions exist to provide the financial peace of mind you deserve.
Hi, I'm Chris Cooper, and I'd love to send you a free copy of my new book, A CPA's Guide to Tax-Free Strategies for Long-Term Care. You'll learn about strategies to empower you and your family, protect your savings, and make sure your loved ones get the quality of care they deserve.
Request your free copy of Chris's book by visiting SerenityLTC.com. That's SerenityLTC.com.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and SouthernArmory.com. That's SouthernArmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at SouthernArmory.com.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at SerenityLTC.com.
Fox News commentary.
Hunter Biden agrees to testify in front of House Oversight about his father's alleged involvement in his shady business dealings. Could this be the moment he throws Pop under the bus? I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
Christmas has come early for House Republicans and all of us who give a damn about the integrity of the Oval Office because Hunter Biden will comply with a subpoena issued by House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer to testify about those overseas business dealings and, more importantly, his father's alleged involvement. Here's the kicker. Hunter wants the testimony to be public. That's right, Hunter wants it to be public. I did not have that on my bingo card. House Oversight leaders insist that the first deposition follows the precedent of being closed door, but Comer agreed that Hunter should at some point testify publicly. Hunter is a confident man, I'll give him that, but I wonder, if the heat gets high enough, would Hunter sell out the big guy, the brand, to save his own hide? This thing could go sideways for Joe, and I've got my popcorn ready. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show Tommy Lahren is Fearless at Outkick.com.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
My point about the governor there, it is absolutely about power.
I read this, I almost fell out of my chair.
News Talk STL.
This thing is just absolutely dripping with irony.
News, analysis, opinion.
Never was a cornflake girl. Thought that was a good solution. Hanging with the raisin girls. She's gone to the other side, giving us a yo-heave-ho. Things are getting kind of gross, and I go at sleepy time. This is not really, this is not really happening.
Welcome back to Colombo Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Anthony Blinken still taking questions from the press. Trying to get the full story here on what is going to be happening next, as this is breaking news regarding what is happening, the next steps here in the war in the Middle East and with Hamas and Israel. And as we start to get into this and unpack some of what we just heard from Anthony Blinken, we have Dr. Randy Tobler joining us on the line now, as he does every Thursday afternoon. And Doc, if you didn't have anything to talk about on your show this afternoon there in Columbia, I think Anthony Blinken just gave us all plenty to discuss. Don't know if you had a chance to hear any of this as it's breaking. It's literally breaking now, so it's
Well, I had a choice of taking care of a patient that has a terrible upper respiratory infection or checking the news wire. So you'll have to scoop me on this. What's going on?
As we know, and this was also said by John Kirby earlier today, and we were reporting on this at the beginning of the show. The United States is doubling down on the idea that they are fully pressuring Israel and trying to negotiate with Israel that the ceasefire continue. And as John Kirby said earlier today, not just another day or two, but for, going forward as much as possible and maybe, completely. Anthony Blinken is still, as I mentioned, taking questions. He just wrapped up his latest remarks to the press, and he sort of doubled down on that. He didn't give any. He said that there has been an agreement to extend the ceasefire, but I haven't heard. They've been kind of dancing around, and he just took a question about, what's the new deadline or what's the timeline, and not getting a straight answer on that, getting some conditions on that, for example. Blinken just said that the United States has been working with Israel and that they said that before any more military action can be taken by Israel, Israel must present a plan that shows that they are maximizing efforts to protect innocent civilians in all their attacks, which is something, Doc, if anybody knows anything about this, it's been paying attention, is something that Israel has done from day one. They've pre-announced when they're going to attack a particular building or whatever. I mean, not every step of the way, not immediately after October 7th, but throughout most of this, Israel has definitely put a premium on protecting civilians, and they always have. A condition, by the way, not afforded to them by the Hamas terrorists. So, again, when I watch this and I listen to this, there's more details, and we'll get into them as we go. But, Doc, all I hear is Israel's the one that's got to be careful. Israel's the one that's got to obey the rules. Israel's the one that's got to watch out for, innocent people and not kill anybody that's not a terrorist. But we're not saying anything about what Hamas has to do or what the terrorists need to do or how they need to behave and stop the war. It's so one-sided to me, Doc, and it's frustrating, and I just don't understand why we are so sensitive to the needs of terrorists.
Well, yeah, man, this is really chilling information, and I hope that what they're saying is not what they truly mean, Tony, because on the other hand,
well, the whole thing is, Doc, that the longer the ceasefire goes on, the more hostages they get out. So that's the overall statement. If we're continuing the ceasefire because we've got, by continuing the ceasefire, we've made an agreement to get more hostages out. So that's
it doesn't take a genius.
Yes, go ahead
to think this through. Mm-hmm. Okay, if that's your stance, if that's your strategy needs to be followed with tactics. A proper tactic would say we've created, at a minimum, we will have finalized by tomorrow, or else the battle will go on. We've urged Israel, if the following timetable is not followed, and this timetable will be dictated by we, the Americans, the West, if they'd have done their homework, and Israel, and you will release 20 hostages a day for the next 6 days. Anything short of that will result in full-fledged elimination of any remaining Hamas sympathizer in the Gaza area. And instead, this is an open-end thing. Well, if you give us a little hostage, we'll keep going on. Look, this is the same people. These are the same people, the Biden administration, the Kumbaya crowd, the people who love they, them, she, lizard, we, parrot, bird, cat, I want to be whatever I want to be, we're going to appease you, whatever you do. These are the same people that appease BLM people, that destroyed whole neighborhoods, small businesses, took it out on cops who were maimed and killed over a whole summer. And who was the bad guy? It's the cops. They're the bad guy. These people can't discriminate, Tony, between the good guys and the bad guys. And when they may think there's an inkling of something that's awry with a group of people like Hamas, well, we got to just be nice to them, and they'll give us the things they want. Yeah, how'd that work out for you with the Nazis? How'd that work out for you with Pol Pot? How'd that work out for you with Stalin? How'd that work out for you with all of the despots throughout history? Nice guys always lose last, especially delusional, irrational nice guys
Spot on, Doc.
that aren't so nice, by the way, like Joe Biden.
So, Dr. Tobler, when we talk about these different folks that have appeased Black Lives Matter and the people that destroyed these small businesses and homes and now are seemingly appeasing Hamas and trying to make them into the good guy, aren't these the same voices of these ultra-feminist, I'm putting that in quotes, women that said believe all women, and now they seemingly don't want to believe women that are being raped and family members being killed and trafficked by Hamas terrorists and now being put into different terrorist organizations' hands? Where, I guess my question to you is, Dr. Tobler, in what you're just saying, there's also a group of feminists. Where are the believe all women feminists that made a big deal about that?
Let's be honest about it. I mean, when you have to come down, when you're a professional politician, you're not a statesman like the founding fathers, where you did your work in D.C. and wherever, Philadelphia initially, and then you went home because it wasn't all about you, and it wasn't always about the imperial federal government. But since they are professional politicians, and what is their prime, secondary, tertiary objective in life, every waking minute? To get reelected. And since an increasing number of the voting bloc are young skulls full of mush who can't tell you how the country was founded, they couldn't even tell you who we fought in the Korean War, if you know what I mean. Okay, so given that, and given that these are the people that are protesting, and these are the people that are all pro-Palestinian, anti-Jew, anti-Israel, okay, you got to make a decision between, well, am I gonna worry about a few women getting raped over in the Middle East, or my own political hide here back home? And sadly, they're worried more about their political hide. That's what's going on here. So yeah, they don't really care. Look, they don't care about babies in the womb. It's okay up till the point of birth. We can take those out, right? Because that's what's politically popular in their base. And in this case, what's a few women getting raped over in the Middle East? Come on, I got an election I got to attend to. Come on, what do you mean?
Doc, it really is.
This is abhorrent. They ought to be.
It is.
I tell you, anyone who calls those people friends ought to really reconsider, because those people are just. I mean, the people that don't want to take out this abhorrent butchering Hamas group. Yes, there's going to be collateral damage. And where's someone with them cojones to stand up there and say, hey, we'll give you another 3 days. We want all the hostages out of there, because after 3 days, it all resumes. I'm sorry. This is ridiculous.
Well, the cojones are definitely not coming from Anthony Blinken or Joe Biden. And listening to you, Doc, and just trying to, read everything that I can right now, as this is still, he just wrapped up, Blinken did, and so this is literally breaking news and as fresh as can be. And there's not really any headlines out there right now, except the first one that I was able to find was from C-SPAN, which says, just to give you an idea, this is the headline. The headline always carries the biggest piece of news, right? The headline is, Secretary of State Blinken holds a news conference in Israel following meetings with Israeli and Palestinian leaders. He says that Israel must implement a plan to protect Palestinian civilians in Gaza as it targets Hamas with airstrikes. So there you go. That's the number one takeaway, is that Israel is being told what to do. He did say, I quickly wrote down a few things as he was talking. He was asked about, what are you telling Palestinian leaders? What are you talking to the other side about? And he literally said, Doc, the Secretary of State of the United States said, well, Hamas could do themselves a favor by retracting their goal of eliminating Israel and killing Jews. He said that. He was it was some part of it was an extra 50 cents an hour in some, pay negotiation structure. Well, they could drop this one part of their platform that says, they want to eliminate Israel and kill all Jews. He also said that he talked to the Palestinian Authority and expressed their need for reform. That's putting it lightly. That's putting it pretty lightly, that the Palestinian Authority needs some reform. But that's just some we're just suggesting those things to terrorists. We're suggesting that they turn down the rhetoric and maybe, don't be so corrupt. Those are just suggestions, but we're telling Israel, hey, you better have a detailed plan before you start dropping bombs again. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble, mister. Doc, it's infuriating.
I can tell. Hey, I want you to listen to something real carefully. Listen to this. Do you hear this sound? Do you hear something?
Yes.
Do you hear it?
I do.
You know what that is?
What?
That's Henry Kissinger rolling over in his
Doc,
very young grave.
Come on, I know, right? I mean,
I'm
seriously.
telling you, he is rolling over in his grave, lady and gentlemen. I mean, can you imagine a master diplomat looking at the amateur hour in the White House? Holy cow.
This
is amazing. And,
it is
and infuriating is exactly the word. And you know what? Embarrassing, tragic. You're seeing the fall of a society. First it was the Greeks, then it was the Romans, later the Byzantine Empire. I'm afraid it might be coming our way if we don't eliminate this kind of leadership from leadership.
There's an opportunity to eliminate that.
Go back to the beach, Joe. Go back and drive your Corvette. Have a nice day. Tony Blinken, go back and play your rock star bands. Go do that. We don't need you in leadership anymore.
Yeah, try not to hit the box of documents as you're backing the Corvette out of the garage, Joe, and then you'll be all right. Hey, last thing,
which
Doc.
you were exonerated for, by the way.
Right.
No problem. No charges filed, right?
Yeah, exactly. Last thing, and I do agree with you, but I do hold optimistic hope that, that opportunity to change the path that we're on is right around the corner, and hopefully something good comes from it. But we were talking about this right before Anthony Blinken started talking. I was discussing the fact that the House Republicans are expected to meet behind closed doors tomorrow morning as James Comer, Jim Jordan, and Jason Smith from the great state of Missouri make their case to the Republican congressmen and women that there should be a vote to formally start the impeachment inquiry on Joe Biden. If the Republicans leave this meeting tomorrow, Doc, and there's still enough Republicans in the House that say, no, we're not going to support a formal inquiry, you get what you ask for. I just can't trust anything anymore. If they're not ready to move forward with a formal inquiry after this meeting where Jason Smith, Jim Jordan, and James Comer are going to present their cases of why we should be moving forward and making this formal. It's going to be an interesting day and something that I'm going to be watching very, very closely. What do you think?
So again, let me get it clear. They're going to be meeting not to start impeachment proceedings, but to make a formal inquiry. Wow.
To discuss if they will even, if they can, they're going to find out if they have the votes on the Republican side to move forward with a formal inquiry, because the inquiry to this point, the one that Kevin McCarthy started, was informal because he didn't have the votes. He knew that he didn't, even in his own party, he didn't have enough support to start a formal inquiry. Well, the chairman of those big committees, Oversight Chairman Comer, Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, and Ways and Means Chairman Jason Smith, they've put together the case of why it's time to move forward, and they're going to present that case behind closed doors tomorrow, and then we're going to find out if the Republican Party, at least the Republicans in Congress, think that there's enough there to move forward. And if they don't, Doc, I'm telling you what, I'm done with all of them.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm right, huh? I mean, if we don't have a party, if we don't have a prominent political party in this country that can clearly tell the American people, we know the difference between right and wrong. This president, when he was vice president and after, was clearly wrong. He's not fit for leadership. We're going to investigate it and confirm that, and then we'll, move on. I mean, if we don't have people that can set the guidelines and the guardrails for what is the expected normative behavior of leadership in this country, all is lost. And I would just hope that folks are going to call their district representatives from this state and from others listening in Illinois and get on the phone and get these people on the shtick and say, make it no ifs and bones and buts about it. We're going to, Tony Colombo and Katie, you guys are going to you're going to primary these people if they don't vote for formal inquiry. How's that
I'm
sound?
all for
I nominate you.
I'm-
I nominate you both.
Well, I'm all for it, Doc. I'm all. Katie can be the candidate. I'll be the chief of staff, and you can be the press secretary, and let's get this thing done. Doc,
good.
really appreciate your time as always. Of course, every Saturday morning, 6 to 9 a.m., you can hear Doc right here on the Randy Tobler Show on News Talk STL. Every afternoon at 4 o'clock, there at the Eagle in Columbia, Missouri, and, of course, every Thursday afternoon with us here on Colombo and Katie. Doc, really appreciate your time and rolling with the punches on a very busy Thursday afternoon.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you again soon, my friend.
Enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
See ya.
Great stuff, as always, there from Dr. Randy Tobler. So, Katie, we have a war in Israel. We have a war in Ukraine. We have a corrupt federal government and presidential administration. That's a lot of serious stuff. We got serious issues at the border. We've got serious issues with crime. What's the UN focused on right now?
Climate change.
The UN is calling on the United States, the United States citizens, you and your family, to eat less meat.
How did I know? How did I know?
They're coming for you. If you want to save this planet, if you want to save yourself,
No more meat.
no more chicken nuggets.
Not happening because Chick-fil-A
I'll
station's coming.
I'll explain that and more next on Colombo and Katie.
The Democrat Party, you're going to have to go back toward the center.
News, analysis, and opinion.
I've never called a talk show before, but this just irked me.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Do you live in St. Charles County? Then you can get Mid-Rivers News Magazine delivered free to your home just by asking for it. Mid-Rivers News Magazine is the only print source for the political, school, business, and sports news happening in your hometown. Simply visit midriversnewsmagazine.com/subscribe to get a copy delivered to your mailbox. Or you can pick up a free copy at all area Deerbergs and Schnook stores. Mid-Rivers News Magazine. Anybody who wants it gets it. Anybody who gets it wants it. Subscribe for free today.
This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
President Joe Biden has a new tactic to maybe get money for Ukraine. He wants $60 billion. A lot of members of Congress say no more money for Ukraine right now. Well, now he's trying a new tactic, sending maps around to members of Congress saying, take a look at this, because if we send this money to Ukraine and buy equipment from here to go over there, you're going to have to rebuild it, and that means money for your state. Battleground states like Pennsylvania and Arizona, you're going to get billions of dollars. Keep that in mind. And even some of the other states, he said, artillery shells. Ohio, Texas, you'll be getting money. This will be American workers building the arsenal of democracy, serving the cause of freedom. He's buying votes is what he's doing. Congressman Mike Garcia, Republican of California, said, the reality is if we're going to be doing this for aerospace and defense companies to tool up, we need to be doing that not for Ukraine, but for our Department of Defense to fight against China. Well, Chuck Schumer says, I'm going to put it up for a vote this coming Monday. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
I want to share something special with you. I've told you how Wellington Environmental works to keep hospitals, schools, businesses safe for their patients, students, clients, employees. Wellington can do the same for you. Perfect example. A relative went to the basement, almost knocked over by the smell. A sewer line had broken. A call to Wellington, a crew was dispatched. First thing, make the home safe. Then clean up the mess. Truly clean it up. Now, I'm telling you this because I want the best for you. Wellington Environmental. Here's the number, 314-644-4930. 644-4930. AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. 644-4930. Wellington Environmental. Your world. Cleaner, better, safer. Be well with Wellington.
This is Christina Straight with Straight Realty reminding you why pay more than four. In 2003, we had a dream to start a real estate company that would revolutionize the real estate market. Now, 20 years later, after navigating through the many markets' ups and downs, we know exactly how to help you in this challenging time. I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. Don't give away your hard-earned equity. Give us a call today, 314-441-4444, 314-441-all-fours. And remember, why pay more than four?
Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
So to help you and your family and your home out for the holidays, the great cleaning pros at Zero Res are extending a fantastic offer that you can take advantage of. The November offer, which was book a cleaning in the month of November, has been extended, and now you can book your cleaning in the month of December, get your house cleaned up and looking fantastic just in time for the holidays by taking advantage of the Colombo special. 3 rooms of carpet clean starting at just $129 plus $50 off an air duct cleaning. What an awesome, incredible offer, an opportunity for you to take advantage of, and now you have the month of December to do it in as well. We just had the cleaning pros at Zero Res at our house a couple weeks ago. We've had them in and out of our house over the years many times. They are the best at cleaning any surface in your home. Carpets, of course, a big part of that, but also tile, upholstery, furniture, whatever it may be. Zero Res can save the day. Bring your home and your furniture back to life. And again, right now, if you book a cleaning in the month of December, all you have to do is mention the Colombo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. That is amazing. Plus, you can take $50 off your air duct cleaning. Just mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or book online anytime at ZeroResSTL.com. Spell it forwards or backwards. It spells the same, Zero Res.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
So in the cage match between DeSantis and Newsom, the red state, blue state, which one did come out the victor?
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to Colombo Katie on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Before we move on to the UN thing, because everything's been sort of mashed up here at the end of the show because of Anthony Blinken coming out and speaking and us having to carry that live and then react to him saying that they are working towards, once again, extending the ceasefire and putting a lot of the requirements and blame on Israel and nothing on Hamas. Again, I mean, it's just unbelievable. We kind of got lost in the story that we were discussing before that, and this fact that tomorrow morning, and I think this is a huge deal. We just talked about this with Dr. Randy Tobler. House Republicans are meeting behind closed doors tomorrow to discuss holding a vote which would formalize the impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden. So the chairman of 3 huge committees, Oversight Chairman James Comer, Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan, and Ways and Means Chairman Jason Smith from Missouri, are going to be making their case to House Republicans tomorrow morning behind closed doors that they need to hold a vote and move forward with a formal impeachment inquiry on President Joe Biden. Now, as I was saying right before we got cut off by the Secretary of State, the inquiry that was announced by Kevin McCarthy when he was Speaker of the House in September was informal because at the time, Kevin McCarthy knew that he didn't have the votes. In the Republican Party, he didn't have enough people to vote for an official formal inquiry. If tomorrow morning after this meeting, if we find out, if the reports coming out of that meeting are Republicans are not going to move forward with this vote because they don't have enough support within their own party to move forward with a formal impeachment inquiry. It's not even moving forward with impeachment. We're just talking about a formal impeachment inquiry. Then I'm done with every single one of them. If there's Republicans that go, oh no, we can't do that. We can't have an impeachment inquiry on President Biden.
It's such a swampy, realistic, deep state thing to start thinking about whenever you have Republicans saying we shouldn't be doing something like this. Now, I know that in that first round of people saying we shouldn't even have an inquiry of Biden, I think some of those, this is not me speaking on agreeing with them.
No, I'm with you.
But I think that a lot of these Republicans feel like it shouldn't be a tit for tat type of deal when it comes to the word impeachment.
Yeah, which I agree.
And I get that.
Yeah.
But this is a circumstance where this isn't a witch hunt against Joe Biden.
Yeah.
I don't think Republicans are doing this because they have a vengeance against Joe Biden.
I agree. And I think that the fact that Donald Trump was impeached on at least, I've had people on here like Crane Durham that thinks that the January 5th impeachment, January 6th impeachment, that part was maybe, I've heard people say that was a more legitimate situation. I've heard conservatives say that. I disagree, but I've heard conservatives say that. The other impeachment was absolutely ridiculous. So the fact that and nobody, I think, doubts that. So the fact that happened, that there was a totally unjustified impeachment of Donald Trump, is not the reason to impeach Joe Biden.
Absolutely.
However, it can be used very much as an argument of you impeached Donald Trump for this, and what Joe Biden has done to America is so much worse.
So much worse.
So much worse. So much more damaging. So much more backstabbing of the country. So I think you can use it in your case to be made, but as an example of if that is an impeachable offense.
And this isn't.
This is definitely an impeachable offense. But it's not, hey, they did it to us, so we're going to do
totally.
it to them. That is not.
That's not the case here. And I would say, going back to the deep state thing, to me, this is as swampy as it gets. This is as breaking bread and making deals with the other side and other people in the closed doors and the smoky rooms. That, to me, is as deep state and as swampy as it gets.
Amen. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this situation. And after that meeting happens tomorrow, you better believe I'll be talking about it tomorrow afternoon. And we will see what these Republicans come up with in this meeting. And if they don't come out of that meeting agreeing to move forward with a vote and have the full support to have a successful vote to move forward with a formal impeachment, then some people need to be called out in a big way. You're getting called out in a big way. You ever go to McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or anything like that?
Yeah, heck yeah, I do.
Well, the UN,
I love McDonald's.
You're being called out by the UN. A lead United Nations agency overseeing food and agricultural policy is issuing a roadmap which will call on the West, particularly America, to dramatically reduce its meat consumption. The UN's Food and Agricultural Organization, the FAO, will publish its so-called Global Food Systems Roadmap during the upcoming COP28 Climate Summit, which kicks off next Thursday and it extends for nearly 2 weeks until the middle of December. FAO's first-of-its-kind document will recommend nations in the West, again, particularly the United States, that overconsume meat, in their words, to limit their consumption as part of a broader effort to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So next time I am with my kids and we've got to get to gymnastics and or swim practice, and I'm got stuck late at work and I'm trying to get home on time, and then we got to run to gymnastics, and we got to make sure that we get in bed on time and get our homework done because it's a school night, and I need to get some dinner, and I'm thinking, oh, you know what? I think I'm just going to get McDonald's tonight because it's quick and easy, and I should stop. I should say to myself, you know what? The UN's Food and Agricultural Organization told me that I need to stop over-consuming. So I'm not going to get my son a 6-piece chicken nuggets, and I'm not going to get my daughter
because it's James' fault
the 2 cheeseburger meal because we're eating too much meat.
This is why
stick it up your butt.
Totally.
Food and Agricultural Organization at the UN.
This is why America is so awesome, because there are still 80% of us. I'm going to say that there's a whopping 20%, but there's still 80% of us that are like, screw you.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing that. You cannot tell us what to eat. And I would say there's members of our government that would look at that and say, screw you. You don't get to dictate what other people get to do.
No, we saw the Democrats. They want to tell us what we can set the thermostat at. They want to tell us what we can put in the microwave, how high we can turn the stove up, how cold the the refrigerator can be. No, there's definitely plenty of people in this country that want to have that type of control.
Totally.
So I extend my stick it up your butt to those people as well as the UN's Food and Agricultural Organization.
Can you imagine though, that being the mechanism to combat climate, that being the mechanism to combat greenhouse gases? I'm telling you to stop eating your 6-piece chicken McNugget. Screw you. I'm not doing that. Have you ever had a McNugget?
Yeah.
These people have never had a McNugget.
The next time my wife and I get a chance to have like a nice dinner, and we're going to go get a nice steak, and I'm sitting there at the restaurant, and I'm ready to order my Kansas City strip, and I should go, you know what? Remember what the UN said? Better make this a chef salad.
Caesar salad. Oh, God.
Stick it. You know where. That's the message. Great stuff today. A lot going on. Breaking news right in the middle of the show with the press conference from Secretary of State Antony Blinken. And if you missed anything, make sure you are subscribed to the podcast so you never miss anything. We put the show out as a podcast shortly after we get off the air every day on basically every podcast platform. So make sure you're subscribed to Colombo and Katie on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss anything that happens here on the show. Keep it here. The O'Reilly Report is next, followed by the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show at 4 and Larry Connors USA at 6. We'll be back tomorrow at 2. Thank you so much for listening to us here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Is your retirement income at risk if you or your spouse needs nursing home or in-home care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. The cost of long-term care is one of the biggest risks in retirement planning. For many retirees, a single nursing home stay can cause a significant reduction in assets that can permanently reduce your retirement income. Fortunately, there are affordable and flexible options available today that can help you manage the cost of long-term care. Our team can help you address the risks relevant to your retirement, including long-term care. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
The Vic Porcelli Show. The bee or not the bee?
According to a study, female frogs fake their deaths to avoid having sex.
But I don't think it was the bee. I'm going to say not the bee.
That's not the bee. That's actually true. Female frogs, just like human women, fake their own deaths